Hello and welcome to another edition of Coffee with Developers. We don't have any coffee yet, but I'm here with Felix Wotschofsky. He's the winner of our CODE100 competition. So what was that like? How did your life change? Is it fame and fortune and great things now?
Actually, to a certain degree, yes. So I guess, first of all, the event itself was certainly an amazing experience. I got to learn a lot about myself. That's I guess even the main prize, the learning experience going through the event and also the aftermath, being exposed to whatever we will be talking about now. Mm-hmm. So the event itself, of course, it was first thing I learned was that I was able to really grow into being on stage.
Okay.
So in the first round, maybe a quick reminder what the event was about. Basically, it was 6 rounds in total, and with a growingly shrinking participant size until in the end there was just 2 people left in the last round.
So it was basically just a knockout. Basically, yes. you have to answer the right questions, and if you get the right answer, you get to the next round.
Exactly.
A few of the rounds are also group work, and then at the end you're stand alone as the final 2, so to say.
And 5 of these 6 rounds were on stage.
Yeah,
and that's the first thing. Initially, you were just one of 32 on stage. You just were part of a group. That was super easy. But then, as more and more people had to leave the stage, you were more and more in the center of attention. Mm-hmm. But because that wasn't just instantly, you weren't just instantly thrown in front of a 3,000 or so people crowd, it felt rather easy to deal with. Mm-hmm. So in the end, what I learned, being on stage is actually fun. Mm-hmm. And that is something that I want to, keep in mind and go forward with and see where this possibly on-stage journey will take me.
Well, you've been giving presentations, I've seen lately, a lot more than before. Yes. So it seems like once that barrier was broken, once you actually found your confidence enough to be on stage and be happy there, is there more invitations came from that as well, or was it through other channels?
No. So actually, my first meetup talk that I gave, that was already planned in April or something. But after the CODE100 event, and also, of course, after the being on stage during the closing ceremony of the World Congress, where I was instantly thrown on stage in front of everyone, I just got so much more confident and knew, yes, I like it. I want more of it. I'm hooked now, and I want to be on stage more.
So one thing I found when I do a lot of public speaking and public speaking coaching as well. So that's one thing. But having to answer questions on stage and having to do live coding in front of that many people, you do make a lot of mistakes that you normally wouldn't do, would you?
Yes. I reviewed the footage from the event, and first of all, it felt way shorter than it actually was. So the last round, I thought it was like 5 minutes maximum. It actually turned out to be 8. Mm-hmm. But also in the previous rounds, I just made and the final round, I was so close to actually getting it right first try, but I made a ridiculously dumb mistake. And that's exactly what you're probably talking about.
I did love the audience were just talking amongst each other, like, why does he do that? What is he doing? What is he doing? And it's interesting that we offer to use any language. That's the other thing. That's my problem as somebody who has to come up with these questions and these code puzzles. I would love to do everything in PHP or JavaScript or the Perl or the languages that
one language.
That's the problem. Like we can't do that. We have to make examples that could be solved in any language. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you just like I found, for example, one puzzle that I'm just setting up, and I'm like, this is great. This is really tough in Go. This is really tough in JavaScript, and in PHP there's a built-in function for it. And I'm like, damn it, I can't use that because anybody who knows PHP would have solved that thing immediately. So it's keeping that level that everybody is equal, that we don't have to have an expert in one language to contribute, is something that is a really hard job for us, but it's also, I think it's important because there's far too many events that are focused on languages, I think.
Actually, it is, I found it to be sort of based on languages, because if you or decide to use a simple language like JavaScript, like Python, you have such a big advantage over someone who would potentially have to first type the entire input to be able to even use it from the API.
I think
but I would really love to see someone use an actually hard language in one of the...
Somebody used C?
Yes, I saw that, but they weren't successful, unfortunately.
Yeah, no wonder. It's really, I mean, I think the thing that we changed this time as well was that we don't have you have to token and you have to find access to the service.
Right.
I think a lot of people lost a lot of time trying to just get the puzzle and actually send their question in. Yeah,
that was half the time.
So I'm like, okay, we're going to have an endpoint for that to make it much easier, and say like, okay, just send the endpoint there and send your request there, and then we compare the result with what we want it to look like, and then it's going to be much more interesting. So you won. And it was fun to see you on stage, because it was just like, and I love that you're excited about doing more right now. There was also 10K involved. So What did you do with that?
To be honest, I didn't throw it out the window. I recently invested like half of it. Okay. Let's see where this goes. But overall, I got a little watch. But overall, I think the greatest value is that it bought me time. I'm just studying right now. I don't have a steady income.
Okay.
And that's just half a year of living expenses. Half a year that I don't have to work, that I can focus on other things, possibly building a startup, whatever.
And this is why you live in Berlin and not in San Francisco, because 5,000 euros in San Francisco would not be half a year of living.
Well, to be honest, not 5,000, but overall 10,000.
It's interesting to see as well that we're now going to do this a bit smaller. So we're now going to Zagreb. You're going to go there as well.
Super excited.
Yeah? What are you looking forward to?
Well, just a city trip, like a fun little adventure over the weekend.
And it's going to be, we have this event there. It's connected to an event that is happening as well, but it's not part of the event. So you don't need to buy tickets for the other event, because the website is in Croatian only, which was something that confused me. But our event is going to be in a club, and it's going to be afterwards. And we're going to be having 4 rounds this time to make it a bit smaller, only with 16 people starting. So it's going to be much smaller than the one in Berlin, because, oh my God, it was quite a task to set that up. And we want to take it on the road. And then we go to other locations in the next year, and you're probably going to be there as well. And the winner of each of those will then come to Berlin for the World Congress in July to compete with all the others again.
So are there going to be 100 again? Or...
No, we're starting. I think we're starting with 32. Yeah, 32. And then we filter down, because it's a much shorter thing as well. Like, it's not going to be the huge after party that we had there.
So is there still going to be like a direct way into the main competition?
The winners will go in the main competition. Yeah, the end winner of that one will be one of the competitors that will compete in Berlin.
I see.
So. Yeah, it's going to be a roadshow, basically. We're taking this on the road. We're having different events in different places. And then in the end, we have the winners already. So the first filtering round we did in Berlin the day before. This is going to be now the roadshow. Yeah. Because you said in your blog post that you were confused that there was no coding on the first day.
It was, I wouldn't say, it was sort of disappointing. I was super excited, like, it's happening, the big event. And then we filled out some quiz. So I'm actually happy to see this change.
Well, it's a bit like in a job interview, isn't it? Like you go in there and you want to play with the cool technologies these companies have, and then somebody gives you a pen and gets you on a whiteboard and start coding, and you're like, no, I hate those. So
it feels like even more just getting to know each other,
Yeah.
not even solving logic puzzles.
and they're all the same. They're just a leaf sort, or I mean, at one time I was asked to write a Sudoku validator in JavaScript on a whiteboard,
That's
and I'm like,
impressively complex.
I don't know the rules of Sudoku, so that was my first answer. I was like, how does Sudoku work? Because I never played it. And they're like, oh, okay, so that's a problem. Or at the BBC at one time, I applied and they asked me to write XSLT on a whiteboard. And I was like, this is the most idiotic language when it comes to syntax. Why would I ever write this by hand? What are you trying to solve with that question here? And sometimes it's filtering out.
What's their answer?
The answer was basically they wanted me to get an XML file and filter out the things and sort it by something.
No, why they made you use that language?
They needed it. I mean, the BBC back then was all in XSLT, and it's a long time ago, 2001. And but they just wanted to see that I really know it. So that's another thing. And I think it's important to point out that when CODE100, it's not a job interview question thing. This is about the fun of being a coder and coming up with different solutions.
It's a game show. It's not strict competition.
Yeah. You also won interesting things like a flight with a blimp.
Yes. Actually, it's a Zeppelin.
Yeah.
That I learned that's a...
There's a dirigible as well. There's 3 different ways.
Yes. So there's an important differentiating factor involved. But yes.
And
that was over Munich during the IAA convention. Sorry.
Yeah. So you're also going to in Croatia. You're gonna go and drive or meet a supercar. Is that something that's happening?
I'm gonna be driven in that car.
I guess after what happened on Top Gear, they don't want anybody to drive it any longer. So.
I don't know about that story. I think I'll need to look that up. But yes, also certainly something I'm looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
How much is that?
I have no idea.
3 million or something?
I'm very happy that I could afford a car that basically is good. And in Berlin right now, if you want to buy a new car, you wait for half a year. It's impossible.
And if you even get a place to park it.
That's the other issue. I got a supermarket in front of my house, so that helps.
Okay, sure.
So you have to change the parking thing every hour, but that's the other.
Also in the middle of the night?
No, overnight it's free. So I don't know. It's we're getting off topic here.
Yeah. Okay.
So in terms of somebody who wants to be a competitor, do you think there is a way to prepare for it? What should somebody look forward to?
Look forward to
or prepare?
Being stress resistant, that's the number one thing. Being okay or sort of okay, because I only really learned it through the event as well, to be on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to sort of shut off all the noise and just focus on your work. That is like the one thing, or the number one skill I think you should bring. I can't tell you how to train that.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not just noise, but also the pressure of the competition, that there's now 10,000 euros on the line. But that's something that you should have. Then, to be honest, I found that if you know your primary language or have a go-to language that you're very comfortable with and don't need to look anything up, and B, you know your rough computer science principles, topics, concepts, then you should actually be fine. I got asked quite a lot of times, what did I do to prepare? And actually I didn't. Or I tried the night before. I panically tried to do some Advent of Code, but failed miserably. So I just decided, I'm just gonna go to bed. Rest is the better option. Though I have to admit, I went home before the competition to take a nap.
Okay. Yeah, so 10-minute naps are a good thing for that as well. Yeah, and I think the getting to be on stage is part of that as well. I think it's an interesting skill to have afterwards as well, because you always will be in meetings, you always will be in front of people. It's not going to be 3,000 like it is in Berlin. It will be a lot fewer in the roadshow events as well. But it's a great step to actually realize, to actually get there. And I mean, it takes you into public speaking. It takes you into being more efficient in meetings and negotiations, I think, as well, because you can basically show off the thing that you love as a developer live on stage. So why not? And the environment is basically, we have an editor for you. So there's no need to actually, I think it's very important to people to understand that you won't have your perfect setup that you have in your own machine. Like you don't have ChatGPT or GitHub Copilot to help you along. You can use the internet to look things up, but the clock is ticking. So probably, did you look something up?
Yes. Yes, I listened very carefully to the rules, and we were only told that we can't use AI tools. So for one task, it was about finding anagrams. And to be honest, I didn't even quite understand what anagrams were.
Okay.
Because I was just under such stress, I didn't carefully read the description.
Okay.
So I just decided to go to Google and copy a solution from there, and it worked.
Okay.
Well, second try. The first one didn't, but one thing actually, a genuine tip, if you want to participate, then try to get comfortable with VS Code. And the keyboard shortcuts and so on.
And I mean, I have a short version on WeAreDevelopers right now called Keys to Success, which actually shows keyboard shortcuts you can use. And I showed some from Chrome, I showed some from the operating system right now, and I'm going to do a lot of them on VS Code because I'm a keyboard user myself. I don't like using a mouse. I have keyboard shortcuts for everything, and VS Code is just ridiculously good. So if you want to save a lot of time, that's a great way to do that.
Yes,
you can even,
because I believe the editor will be the same as last time.
It's the Daytona environment, and that uses Monaco, which is the same text editor that VS Code has at its core. It's an open source editor, so if you want to build any of your own solutions, you can use that one as well. And the main questions will be on Slido again as well, so you will have to have your mobile phone.
So there will be a quiz again?
There will be a quiz again. It's a very simple way to get people out. It's also when you coach people or when you do trainings, ending your training session with a quiz is always a good way to know if people really understood what you taught them or not. So, of course, there's a bit of an unfairness in multiple choice, and sometimes when your phone doesn't work, a few people were kicked out because the connectivity didn't work for them.
I think during the first round, like on the day before, I panicked so hard when, I don't know, I think I closed my browser.
Okay.
Or something like that. I thought this has to be it. It's over. But Slido actually saved me there.
That's another thing I love about VS Code. Like, you cannot lose any information. The thing can crash, and when you start it again, everything is still open, and even unsaved things. You can also turn on autosave, so every keyboard shortcut, every time you type something, the file gets saved automatically.
Is that on by default in Daytona?
In Daytona, it might be on by default, yeah. In VS Code, it isn't yet. So, you'll be going to then Zagreb. I sadly enough can't, because I'm going on vacation the day after. And I'm flying from Berlin to Tenerife, and there's no way of doing that in between, although they've been pushing me. But I'm going to be at the other ones. I'm going to be at the one in
Is that announced yet?
We're still looking at locations, so we're not quite sure yet, but it's going to be in Europe, and it's going to be in places where I love to be, so it's all good. The final will be in Berlin again, so that's going to be easy. So anything else you would think that people out there would want to hear about CODE100? You said already it gave you more confidence on stage. I was surprised how well it worked. It was just such a great party as well, wasn't it?
The after party or the event itself? The event itself was such a blast, to be honest. Yeah.
I was expecting okay, we have to get 5 rounds of free drinks in. So with a British crowd, you have to do that to get them started. But the people were on it from the get-go. It was just wonderful. It was like, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but with code.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a game show.
That would be another interesting thing. You could ask a friend if you get stuck.
Then bring someone on stage. Actually, Joker said something you should
Okay.
Maybe investigate, that would be fun.
Another thing that I would love people to do, and you as well, if you want to take a stab at it, like we want also to have featured quizzes from people. So instead of us coming up, or let's face it, me coming up with all the things we have to ask people, it would be fun to go to our GitHub repo and actually say like, hey, I have a puzzle for you. And when we publish that in one of the competitions, then we would actually put your name on stage as well and say like, this puzzle was sent in by this and that. So if you have any puzzles that puzzled you or that you really think would be good for that, please send them in as well.
Maybe even people can solve the problem you've been struggling with all year.
That's my trick with Stack Overflow. You never ask a question on Stack Overflow. You just give a wrong result, and you get so many more answers that way immediately because people like to tell you that you're wrong and how they would fix it. It's a much faster way to get an answer on Stack Overflow than to ask a question, because the first question is always answered like, oh, you should read the docs or you should use this. And I hate that when you ask developers for something and you get them to tell you products.
To be honest, I've never asked on Stack Overflow for that exact reason. Also, it feels like everything has already been asked.
Possibly, yeah. But that doesn't mean that the first answer is the best. Sure. Or the most successful answer is oftentimes not the best at all. It's just the most convenient and most obvious. That's also worrying.
The docs.
Yeah, that's worrying to me about AI systems as well. There's like one answer, and we hope it's the best, but why can't I say no? And all these systems are too optimistic. They never want to say, I don't know this. They just give you random stuff instead.
Even if it's completely wrong.
Yeah. Let's not do that. So I guess we're kind of out of time. Let's see if that all worked out. And I want to thank Felix again for coming here. Well, me bringing all the stuff to the office here. And you can see him in Zagreb. You can't sadly enough see me. But have a blast, and it's going to be fun.
And also, of course, the future roadshow events, if Zagreb doesn't work for you.
Exactly. Okay.
All right.
See ya.